Hello everybody, good evening, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news, but it's also your opportunity to get into the chat, get in the comments with what you think Man United's biggest issues are. It's an opportunity show really, early kickoff on a Saturday, don't normally get to do Saturday night shows, but what are the biggest issues that Amorim is facing at Manchester United? We've just seen Marcus Rashford put in a good performance for Aston Villa. Anthony's obviously doing quite well. Bruno Fernandes, Onana on the thumbnail. Amorim talking about how there are these periods in the game where Man United, he said at half-time that, I said at half-time, go out and do what you've been doing in training. And yet, for the first 45 minutes, they couldn't do it. It becomes such a barrier to success. It becomes such a, success, forget that. It becomes such a barrier to even being in the top 8 when you have an inability to play for 90 minutes. And look, I want to start off with 4 topics. I want to talk about what Amorim said. I want to talk about Bruno. I want to talk about Onana. And I want to have a little chat about Rashford because I think a lot of people follow football in a very flip-flop way. And he played well today. I watched the game on That's Football. And but there's a very big issue with Marcus Rashford, and it's not a mistake to let him go. And if people can't figure that out, then you've got 15 minutes to do it. And I'll tell you then what the issue is with Rashford. It's not about training badly. It's not about being inconsistent. There's a massive issue with Rashford, and it's a very positive thing what he's doing at Aston Villa for everybody. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes because I think the first place I sort of want to start off with is, well, we'll start it and then we'll maybe go to it. And I want to bring your points in, of course. And I am actually very intrigued by what I've seen tonight coming out. I don't really know where it's coming out from, actually, but from the Mirror, that Ineos want absolutely nothing to do with the past. They don't want to hear how things were done when Man United were winning 13 Premier League titles, and they won't accept any suggestion that lessons can be learned from when the club's greatest ever manager was in charge. It's all very well drawing a line in the last 12 years and saying, let's move on, but it's become an obsession not to mention the period when United were one of the best teams in Europe. I think it's becoming very clear that Ineos don't have a fucking clue. I don't propose to get into that massively because I've only just seen that, and obviously we are live about something else. But so basically we've got owners. Let me just get this right. We've got owners who are doing exactly the opposite of every successful club in the Premier League. They don't think that spending money is the way to do it, and now they're having it put out there that they don't. That they absolutely want to ignore the past and not hear about the past. Yeah, I don't even know where to start on that. So the arrogance of these people runs deep. Like they're such football experts that they think they can do it opposite to every other football club in Premier League history. And they're such football experts that they actually think there's nothing to be learnt from a period of domination across a 20-year, 25-year period in the Premier League. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. But look, maybe we'll circle back to that. What I really wanted to talk about was what Amorim sort of said after the game about how he basically said we need to survive this season. That is clear, and then to look ahead. And I sort of understand that to a certain extent. But I also think there's so much to be achieved this season that survival sort of it's probably one of the things that he said that I don't actually agree with. I think when a manager is saying we need to survive this season and then think ahead, I sort of think it's the first time he's ever said anything that I completely disagree with, because we need to survive the season and think ahead. If I'm a player, I'm thinking we're in survival mode. And if we're in survival mode, why should I take risks? Why should I express myself? We're in survival mode. I'm tired of talking about the Europa League and the massive opportunity that it is financially for the football club and also to salvage something. We're not in survival mode. We have enough players to actually be more than survival mode, and we need to build on today, and we need to start playing better football because we're more than capable of it, and we need to try and win this Europa League because it ain't the Champions League. It's not the Champions League. Like there is a chance, and we've got to take it. Last 25 was great. Love the channel, Mark. Amorim in, says Del. Thank you very much. But of more importance, I think what he said about the game is that fixing the problems in the side. He said, in training, we've got to continue to do the same. In the second half, we changed nothing. We have to do the same thing, but in a good way. We have to improve on creating chances. And in this game, we also struggle with scoring goals. So he's very obsessed about consistency. And he said, I don't know if I know I'll change it. Everything we do in the week, we have to do better in the game. In this moment, we need to focus on day by day. We need to survive this season and we can think ahead. I don't want to just say the negative part. In the second half, we were close to winning this game. I told the players at half time, no matter the result, we're going to do what we did during the week, but a little bit more energy. I think you saw that. It was different in the positions. It was different in the quality we played. My goal is to win the next game, to give some happiness to our fans, because we deserve that a lot. And I think when I look at the biggest issues at the club, and I want to talk about Bruno, I want to talk about Onana, I want to talk about, a couple of other things as well. But the biggest issue that we have at this football club is the consistency of not, and I find it incredible, whether it's Old Trafford, Goodison Park, or wherever, the amount of times we are so bad, really bad in a first half of a game. And then in the second half, something will spark us, and then we're almost chasing the result as the clock ticks down. And the amount of times that's happened over the last, certainly 7 years, is unbelievable. It's like we can be so bad in the first half and don't deserve to even be in the game anymore. And then something will happen, a moment, a great goal or a free kick like today, and then we'll just absolutely go for it in the last 20 minutes. And I'm like, I don't understand that, because I watch a lot of football, as I'm sure many of you do. And I very rarely see a team that is devastatingly terrible for 45 minutes and then in the last half an hour suddenly look like a team that's capable of giving everybody a game. And there are occasions where we play well for 90 minutes. You look at the Man City game and you look at the Liverpool game, we played well in those games, but oh God, what a surprise. You're doing it against a big club. But it's this eternal inconsistency over the last few years with multiple different managers. I don't get that, because it's obviously something in the club, and I don't see that at Brentford. I don't see it at Everton. Like it's this hard work. It's almost like they're allergic to hard work, and that has to be reflective of key players in that dressing room. It has to be. And it has to be learnt behaviour, because some of these players weren't here when we were doing it 7 years ago. So there's something that just gets passed from era to era that enables this club to just be so inconsistent. And somebody said it on the watch along today, and they might be right. Is it actually time that we looked at the way the club was run? As football fans, we are so demotivated and demoralised by the way the club is run. Is it fair to say that some of the players may be demotivated and demoralised because they see it on a daily level? I mean, you walk in the canteen and you're getting half portions. I think it can be demoralising. I don't know whether that's an excuse, but there's just something not right. I don't understand how Brentford and Fulham and all these, and they will lose games. They'll lose games. I guarantee you Fulham, well, they did lose to Crystal Palace today, but I guarantee you Fulham didn't play as bad as we did against Everton in the first 45 minutes. Not misplacing passes, not clearing the ball, not marking players. It's just a consistency with Manchester United that I find absolutely incredible. Double D says, how the fuck are you supposed to learn if you don't look back on what was done right and wrong in the past? Ineos, Glazers, wake up. We're certainly going to come back to that. In fact, we'll probably be able to just give you a little bit more on that as well. If you're tuning in a little bit late, we're talking about what Amorim's biggest issues are. And I certainly did the video with the intention of talking about Onana, Bruno, and a few other things, because it's a Saturday night. And I think for too long, we talk about how Onana's a problem, but not for now. Bruno's a problem, but not for now. But when do they become a problem for the now? And I think they're different types of problems, and I think there's a few others. So yeah, look, so David Brailsford and his cohorts are sick of hearing about how Man United dominated the Premier League for 2 decades under Sir Alex Ferguson. Brailsford feels the achievements of the past are weighing heavily on how United go about the business of bringing back the glory. I've never heard such a moronic... thankfully, there's no picture with that, because it would be unfair for me to just despise Sir David Brailsford, but I just don't think he knows anything about football. I really don't. I mean, if that's your biggest concern, mate, that you're concerned about the past and how it's weighing heavily on the present, I mean, what you're effectively saying is we're being weighed down by the success of the past because we can't deal with it in the future. I mean, to me, you might read it in a different way. I read it that we just want to be left alone as a mid-table team, cutting jobs and being shit. Why do people keep talking about winning things? Oh, it's not fair. But I would flip it and go, that's the standard we set. That's who we are. When Sir Alex Ferguson came in the late 80s and he was trying to build something, people were still talking about the Busby Babes, about the 60s, the 68 European Cup, Sir Matt Busby. Anybody of us, you speak to Ricky and ask him what it was like between 68 and winning our first Premier League title, he would say constant conversations about how we used to be this and we're not that anymore. Constant obsession. It was an obsession to win that first Premier League title, first title since 1968. It was an absolute obsession and nobody ever shut up about it. And we did it. And apparently we've now got owners who don't want to hear about past success because it weighs heavy on now. Oh, so what are we going to do then, mate? Should we stop remembering the past, shall we? Should we stop remembering what we're all about? Should we hit the reset button and start all over again? I mean, if we haven't got the name Manchester United, we haven't got a lot else, mate. We're a mid-table club in massive debt with players that aren't good enough, been nowhere near a title in 10 years, and you want to ignore the one positive thing about our football club, which is our history. Well done. You've done it again. You've dropped the ball again, haven't you, you bloody prats? Oh, we're angry about our past. We don't want to hear about our past. It weighs heavily on our present. We don't want to hear about it. It's the only bloody good thing you've got, you idiots. Why do you think you've got an asset and a fan base that's bloody huge? It's based on our past, you twats. Unbelievable. If there's any truth in that, it's absolutely incredible, really. And anybody who defends that, what are you defending it on? Oh, you know what? We were so successful in the past. I feel sorry for the present. They can't live up to it. Well, you can't live up to it when you're bailing out the biggest prats we've ever had in charge of the club for 20 years. Of course we can't live up to the past. We've got people in charge who don't care about anything apart from their bloody pockets. Mad. I'm sorry, I just don't. I mean, look, there might be somebody going to come in and say something really intelligent that throws it the other way, but I can't understand that. I can't get on board with Sir David Brailsford and his cohorts are sick of hearing about Man United dominating the Premier League for 2 decades under Sir Alex. He feels the achievements of the past are weighing heavily on how United go about their business of bringing back the glory. Mate, what's your plan to bring back the glory? Stop talking about glory, hindering... I'll tell you what, mate, if you're worried about our domination of the first 20 years of the Premier League affecting you winning a Premier League title now, hello... This is the voice of reason. The biggest problem you've got is not our success in the past. Biggest problem you've got is £1 billion worth of debt, £1 billion worth of interest paid, and a football club that's on its arse because of all of that. That's your biggest issue. It's not winning bloody Premier Leagues. I mean, if you don't want to go on a stadium tour, don't go on a fucking stadium tour. Simple as that. Your biggest issue is the bank balance, mate. The biggest issue is you and your mate, Sir Jim, decided that you were the dog's bollocks and that you could turn a football club round based on zero evidence of you ever turning a football club round. That's the biggest issue. You rescued a bunch of people who have put the club in this situation. Before the Glazers took over us, we were the most successful club in England. Since they've took over us, they've made us a bottom half table team. That's your biggest issue, mate. Staring you in the bloody face. Oh, you know, cozying up to Avram and Joel. They're the people that have put us in this position. Not Sir Alex Ferguson. Bloody hell. I don't know. Patrick Lynch, the voice of reason, says, the biggest thing I see is the team seems very, very risk averse. Pass back instead of cross, play low block rather than push high. I don't know how a manager changes that mentality without a squad overhaul. I saw a clip on Instagram this afternoon of, I think it was from the other night when the United players went out and they're crossing a road and Delo's at the front and he looks both ways before crossing. And somebody sort of posted a reply, it's the only time Delo looks before he's crossing. And I thought, it's very funny, but it's also very true. Like, Dorgu's not lost that ability yet because he's only just come here to actually play the ball quickly, whether it's a cross or a pass. Delo, I mean, it'll take 4 touches when one's good enough, you know? So yeah, I think you're right on that. Anyway, look, let's get back to some big issues at the football club. Just on Rashford, by the way, because I've just watched Aston Villa. I'll be very, very quick on this. I think it's fantastic that he's got 2 assists today. I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant for Villa that they actually went and brought some players in January and showed some ambition, and fair play to them for winning from coming from behind against Chelsea. And I think Rashford getting 2 assists is brilliant for us because the future for Marcus Rashford is not bright at Manchester United. So therefore, for us, we need the money, and for him, he needs a career. So if he can show that he's still a capable player, which he hasn't shown this season, this can only be a positive for everybody. So that's the positive. As for the people who were saying we made a mistake getting rid of Marcus Rashford, I would say 2 things. First of all, are you calling the manager a liar? Are you calling most of the fan base a liar? This season has been an absolute below par in a shirt. We saw it. We've seen it. I've seen all 3 games he's played for Villa, unrecognisable to Man United. Only he knows why, but he wasn't playing anywhere near as well, so that's on him. Are you calling the manager a liar for saying that he wasn't putting it in training and that's why I didn't pick him? Why would Amorim lie? I don't know. But I think the biggest thing for me is as well, is if you want to call Amorim a liar, and if you want to say it's not Rashford's fault that he wasn't playing well, fine. I'd disagree with you on that, but that's fine. The third thing I would say is, he's also playing in a system that we don't play. So how can it be a mistake? Villa play with 1 striker and a wide player on the left, a wide player on the right, and a number 10. We don't play that system. Rashford wide on the left with a left back behind him is his best position. We don't do it. We don't play that formation. So systematically, it doesn't work. So I'm pleased he's at Villa playing in a system that suits him, keeping that value up, and hopefully we can part ways permanently in the summer. But let's not pretend we made a mistake. We don't actually use a player in that position. So he's in the right place. And he'd obviously lost his relationship with Amorim and wasn't playing particularly well. So I think it's great for Villa, great for Rashford. The only thing that's bad, and it goes back to Sir David and Ineos again, the problem was not letting Rashford go to Villa. His price is increasing, and we will make pure profits on that, and he will get his fresh start. The problem is not letting Rashford go. The problem was not replacing Rashford. That was the biggest issue. The problem was not letting Anthony go. It was not replacing them. That's where we look stupid, in my opinion. I'm sorry for what I'm about to say. I want us to be relegated to Sheriff. I knocked out of the FA Cup and Europa. These owners mustn't have any hope to claim that they are successful. If we qualify for Europe, it will save them, says Sheriff. And Spin says, even when the Glazers neglected United since day one, do you think they firmly down tools when Sir Alex Ferguson left, says Spin? No, I think Sir Alex Ferguson was producing a miracle, mate. That's what I think at the end of the day. He's playing in a system that works for him. We've changed to a system that doesn't work for anyone, says Barter. Well, that's not actually true. You started off quite intelligently and then you threw your toys out your pram. There's nothing wrong with the system. I don't know what your understanding of football is, but there's nothing wrong with the system. There was nothing wrong with the system in the last half an hour today. We could have won the game. There was nothing wrong with the system against Man City or Arsenal or Liverpool. There was nothing wrong with the system against Spurs. We lost against Spurs because we made stupid defensive errors. We were losing to Everton at half-time today because the players played absolutely shit for 45 minutes. There's nothing wrong with the system. It's a player. It's the players. It's so easy to see. Absolutely easy. Which brings me on to a couple of issues that I think Amorim has got. That I think it's time we discussed it. I really do. I think we can't keep kicking it down the road and saying it's a problem, but it's not a problem for now. I've said this. I've got to own it. And I saw a lot of people saying it today. Onana is a big problem in that team. He might not be the biggest problem, but he's a big problem in that team. And although I think left back was the biggest problem, we may have solved it. I think we need a striker, an experienced striker. I think we do need more midfielders. But Onana is an issue in that team. We bought him for ball distribution. He doesn't do it. And effectively, I'm struggling to put him in the top 10 goalkeepers in a league that's got 20. And we paid £50 million. So you've got to start having the conversation about flop. Because I can't explain enough how many times he palms the ball into danger and how this is one of the most basic things you get taught as a goalkeeper. I was talking about this on That's Football a couple of hours ago. When I did a bit of goalkeeping coaching, not coaching, I wasn't a coach. I did a bit of goalkeeping stuff when I was in my teens. And one of the sessions was basically this, and it always stuck with me. It's all about angles and where you stand. But when a shot's coming at you, as a goalkeeper, sometimes you just don't have time. So it's reaction, do what you can, right? A lot of the time, you will have time if you're going to get there to do something with the ball. And that is when you learn to angle your hands. So if you get two hands on it and your hands are like that, you're going to palm it back into danger. But if you get your hands on it and you push your hands like that, that's where it's all about angles, isn't it? If you do that, it's going to go that way. If you do that, you're going to palm it that way. He has an inability to do it. He doesn't move his hands. They're basically just pieces of wood. He's just putting them up there and letting it hit it, and it bounces back the same way it came from. This is a problem because how many goals are we conceding because he's not putting it into safety? He's putting it into danger. Madison last week, it happened, although I thought it was a good save, but he's not done the handwork. And this is becoming a problem because what's the upside to Onana? He makes good saves, but they come back into danger zones and we often concede a goal from it, and we're not getting the distribution. So it is an issue. I said at half-time today, the amount of games I've seen Man United have 45 minutes. Well, I said it a few minutes ago. This is not unique to Amorim. How many times over the last few years have we seen Man United have a terrible first half and then suddenly click in the second half? But how many of those games under De Gea would we be 0-0 at half-time and go, if it wasn't for De Gea, we'd be 3 or 4-0 down or 2-0 down? The trouble is we don't have that goalkeeper now. De Gea used to get Player of the Year and Player of the Month and all this stuff because in a game like that, he'd have made those two saves. And you'd be going, if it wasn't for De Gea, we'd be out of this game. Then second half, we'd win it because we'd switch on. We need, the way we're playing at the moment, what I'm basically saying is, Onana is an issue because we need a De Gea. We need a goalkeeper that pulls off worldies and keeps us in the game. And he ain't keeping us in the game. I think Onana's a good goalkeeper if he's playing for Liverpool. And I'm sure Liverpool fans wouldn't agree. But you know what I mean? Ajax, Inter. He's a good player if you're in a title race and you're going to score a load of goals at the other end. He's not a goalkeeper for a situation like this. So if we're not going to be a top of the table team, I don't see what the value in Onana is. Now, he might be okay in 2 or 3 years' time if we go where we want to go. But for the now, we actually need an elite shot stopper to keep us in the game. Because we ain't creating enough at the other end, so we need a really good goalkeeper. He doesn't suit the profile of what we need. I don't know whether this is going to be a priority, but it is an issue. How high you make that an issue, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say it's number one, but it is becoming more and more prevalent, and I don't know how it changes because I've watched him for 2 years now. I actually thought we were getting a better goalkeeper. I'll put my hand up. I said I couldn't believe the way we treated De Gea. I thought it was disgusting. Obviously, that's not on Ineos. That's on the Glazers. That's on Ten Hag. I thought it was disgusting the way we treated De Gea. And not many people actually agreed, but I did think it was that. But I did say I like Onana from what I've seen. And I'd seen him more than that final against Man City, which distribution-wise was world-class. But he just hasn't been anywhere near the sort of goalkeeper I thought. On for Bruno, there's a few issues I want to talk about. I think Bruno is an issue. And I think that, again, it's the similar issue to Onana. I want these players to be senior players that are helping our younger players and providing platform, maturity and stability and consistency. And one of the big problems we've got in the team today is that the senior players didn't deliver. Onana was bad. Bruno was bad. Maguire was bad. These players, we need them to perform at a better level. Now, I'm comfortable with Maguire. I think he's had his ups and downs. He's coming towards the end of his career. Some people say we shouldn't have extended his contract. You know, today was very, very bad. But I'm comfortable with the defenders. We've got lots of options there. I know Martinez is injured. We need another centre-back. You've got Yoro, you've got De Ligt, you've got Mazraoui. Lindelof is still here. But Bruno Fernandes is the captain of the team. And I've not seen a Man United fan disagree in the comments about what I said in the match reaction. And yet BT Sports gave him man of the match. And I find that criminal. I find it absolutely criminal. I love Bruno Fernandes. I wanted us to sign him. I think I will always try to protect Bruno because I think he gets a lot of unfair criticism. But I also can't do Player FC. I can't do lying. And I have to be honest. And I think for the last 18 months, certainly a year, probably from January last year, it's really hard to go, Bruno has had 5 good games. I'm sure he has, but you know what I mean? It's just been consistently below par. And at some point, you've got to say, he's been below par for a long time. A very, very long time. And I'd throw it open why you think that is, but I can't dispute it. And I know he doesn't like criticism. And I know he's always fit. And I know he cares about the club. And I know he's a good guy. He's definitely a good guy. But Juan Mata was a good guy. It didn't mean that he always played well. And I watched Bruno today and I'm like, you scored a good goal from a set piece, which I would expect you to be able to do because you're a technically good footballer. But in open play, I thought you were dreadful, mate. I genuinely do. I think, especially the first half, I thought he was absolutely dreadful. And I sort of look at it and I go, this is a player who is doing a job Vidic used to do, Roy Keane used to do, Ryan Giggs used to do, Gary Neville used to do. Like, this is the captain of Manchester United, and I don't even know. Are we shoehorning him into a team at the moment? Like, is that a genuine question? I'd like to say no, but in a sense, where does he fit in this team? Like, where is the position where you go, yeah, you play there? Because I look at Declan Rice, I know his position for Arsenal, Mo Salah for Liverpool, Cole Palmer for Chelsea, Van Dijk, you know, all these good players at other clubs, that's where you play. That's your position. I look at Bruno and I'm like, he seemed to play him as a 10 and now he's moved him into the midfield. And he doesn't work in the midfield. I'm not convinced by a few 40-yard passes and a few 5-yard passes and a free kick. I'm not convinced by that. I don't think he's a midfielder. I think we'll get overrun. But in the number 10 position, I don't think he has the discipline or the speed for it either. So well, this is a guy that Ineos gave a pay rise to in the summer for no reason. I don't blame Bruno for asking for it, but he was on 250 grand a week. He'd had a bad season and we give him a pay rise. And I want Bruno to be the player. I think we all want Bruno to be that player. And the minute he becomes that player, I'll go, there's that player, get in. But he's just not that player. I watched Villa again today and Rashford had to go for every reason we all know. He had to go. It's not a mistake to let him go. But when he was here, why wasn't he taking free kick corners? Why was Rashford not taking corners? Because I looked at his corners against Liverpool and I looked at his corners today and he whips it with pace right into where it needs to be. Bruno sort of dinks it in. And I'm like, why is he on every corner? And I think it is an issue. I think it is an issue. And I don't think it's an issue that you go, it's not the biggest issue. It's not the issue for now. Like, we are going to finish in the bottom half of the table. Absolutely nailed on. We are going to finish in the bottom half of the table. And that is disgusting. We can all analyse it and we can all put the blame, but it is disgusting. And we are going to deserve to finish where we are. And there are issues in that team. And I think every issue has to be on the table. And if we are going to be ruthless and we are going to be successful, we're not going to be successful with Bruno playing between 8 and 10 with no discipline next season. The same issues will be there. And we're not going to be successful with Onana palming it back into danger next season. And we're also not going to be successful with Dalot playing down the right-hand side, doing what he's doing at the moment, which is another issue. I thought it was embarrassing today how the left-hand side was actually dangerous and the right-hand side was almost a no-go zone. There was nothing going on. In fact, the most dangerous player down the right-hand side, correct me if I'm wrong, was Ugarte. I saw Ugarte doing more down the right wing than Dalot. So I've just described 3 big issues in this team, and I want to win the Europa League. I want to win the FA Cup. And I think in the modern day, when you look at the Brentfords and the Fulhams and the Brightons and the Bournemouths, in the modern day, these teams aren't joking. They're teams. We seem to go into games and play as 9 or 8 players. And that's why we're struggling. There are definable weak links to our team that everybody knows. That midfield's not balanced. There'll be loads of space there. Down the right-hand side, they're no threat. But down the left-hand side, they are. So let's double up there. And suddenly we become very, very predictable as a team. And these are issues. Now, you can't solve these issues at the moment. You can't solve your goalkeeper issue. Bienda's not even fit. I don't even know if he would want to solve the Bruno issue. And down the right-hand side, we haven't got any other options either. But they are issues. And of course, up front is an issue. Like, I know Rasmus was poor today. I know Amorim has said that Xerxes isn't a number 9. He's a 10. And I know Obi Martin is only 17. We are crying out for an experienced striker, and it would make a difference a little bit. I think where it would make a difference, and I was thinking about this because I wanted to talk about the striker situation as an issue at Man United. It is an issue. It has to be mentioned. I think the ones I've just mentioned there at the moment are bigger issues, but the striker issue is an issue. And you know where I think the biggest issue is? The inexperience is becoming a massive problem. Because if you had Cristiano Ronaldo playing up front for Manchester United, or Cavani playing up front for Manchester United, or Harry Kane playing up for Manchester United, and I mention those 3 players because none of them are realistic. But if you did have those 3, one of them playing up front, with what's going on in that team, they wouldn't just be dropping their head like Rasmus is, or Obi Martin will, or Xerxes did. They'd be shouting. They'd be fucking fuming. They'd be going, what the fuck am I doing up here? I'm making these runs. You won't give me the fucking ball. But the difference would be, because they're experienced, they'd have a voice. They'd have a voice in the dressing room, and they'd have a voice with Bruno and everybody else. They'd be going, I couldn't give a fucking shit who you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you think you know. You're playing shit. I'm making the runs. You're making me look shit. I didn't come here to be looking like shit. I've done this here. I've done this here. I know what I need, and I know how I scored goals there. You need to be giving me the ball here. Ruben, I want to be successful for you. He won't fucking play the pass. I'm running around like a fucking dickhead up front. I didn't come here for this. And that's why we need an experienced striker. It's nothing to do with, oh, he's 28 or he's 27 or he's 26. It's to do with the balls and CV to basically say to these chances that won't put the ball in the box quick enough or won't find the runner, I'm making a fucking run, pass it me. And I think that's a bit of a problem for a Xerxes or a Rasmus or a Obi Martin, is that because they're young, they're almost not intimidated. They won't be intimidated, but they're not being listened to. I watched Obi Martin today make 3 really good runs. They never even looked. And on a football pitch, it is noisy, but you're still shouting. Now, if you're an experienced striker and you're not getting that ball, probably on the pitch you're saying, why the fuck aren't you giving me that ball? So I think that for me is why we need an experienced striker. I think we need a visit from happy Mr. Silverbridge, says Bjorn. Mark, you summed it up perfectly about Bruno. He is simply not good enough to be our captain and to be our number 10 or 8, says Red Devil Germany. I am blind when it comes to Bruno. I still believe that he can be an important part of our future, but today was probably the first time where it irritated me because he's indisciplined. I know that. He played really, really badly, but it pissed me off that BT gave him man of the match because he scored a free kick. because I can't be doing with falsehoods anymore. I can't be doing with the pretense. Like, he shouldn't be coming off the pitch going, I did my job. That's what worries me. Well, some ex-player thinks I did my job. I don't think you did your job. I don't think you did your job at all. I think you scored a good free kick, but I don't think you did your job. But in his head, he's done his job. And if that's his job, that worries me, because I don't think he did his job at all. I also didn't like it. And I've always defended him as a captain. And I don't know whether I've just been blind to it. You can tell me. I've always defended him. I've heard Roy Keane, who I respect, Neville, and others slag him off as a captain. And I've always defended him. I didn't like what Neville said when we lost 7-0, and he was saying, look at him trying to sub himself off, which he wasn't, and Neville never apologised for that. And I think as a fellow professional footballer, when you call out a player on national TV saying they want to sub themselves off and they didn't, he should have apologised. And I think that was bang out of order from Neville, and he's never apologised for it. But today, maybe it was because he played so bad, I saw Bruno Fernandes today playing really, really badly, playing silly passes, giving the ball away. Didn't see anybody shouting at him because he's the captain. When someone else gives the ball away, he's shouting at them, turning his head away. And I thought, hold on a minute. Some of these players are really young. Dorgu's 20. Rasmus is like 21. Xerxes young. Garnacho's 20. Like, these are young players, and you're turning your head away and throwing your arms in the air when they misplace a pass. You've just been doing it for the whole half. It doesn't sit right with me. You can't moan at young players when they misplace a pass, but you're doing it as well. You've got to inspire. You've got to put an arm around the shoulder of some of these players. And I thought, for me today, I just really saw it. And I don't know whether it's because Dorgu's 20 and he's playing down the left-hand side, but I just thought it was a bad trait for a captain, like Ferrucci said. And I thought, you know what? I've played the game. I'm sure many of you played the game. And if I knock a pass into somebody and then they play it ahead of me and it goes out for play and I get moaned at, I'd go, fuck off, it's your pass, mate. Like, and then there might be a bit of something, and if there is a bit of something, fine. But I'm confident that you played a bad pass to me and I couldn't keep it in. So, you throwing your hands or throwing me a smug, what are you on about? So I know how people react to that. If I play a bad pass, I'm apologetic. It's my thing. But if I play a bad pass and it's not as bad as the pass you've just played and you're moaning at me, I know that. And I think, fuck you. So this is what I mean. It's like team morale isn't great. As a leader, I cannot slag other people off when I'm doing something worse. If I'm in a restaurant and I'm head chef and I cook a burger and it's burnt, and then someone else cooks a burger and they forget to put the tomato on it, and I go, you're a fucking idiot, what you done that for? I've done worse. So maybe I should go, look, don't do it again. It's a bad mistake, but look, I'm making mistakes. We're in this together, And I just think that caught my eye today, and I don't think morale is great in that team. In fact, I know it, we can see it. And I think every little thing can be a learning day. If Eriksen was 25 and fast, he would be a starter. The fact he doesn't even use Eriksen, Alan, I think was a little bit strange today, but it's probably about that. I've said it for years, he isn't a captain, says Daz. I think he is a captain. I think Bruno is a captain. I just don't think he's a very good captain. But I think he's the best captain we've got. I don't think there is a better captain. I mean, Harry Maguire with the captain sinks. Most of Harry Maguire's bad performances came when he was a captain. So he sinks with the captaincy. De Ligt's getting 2 out of 10 from Man United's chief correspondent in the Manchester Evening News. Do you really want to give him the captaincy as well? I mean, he's already getting absolutely pelted. I don't understand it. So I wouldn't give it to him. Martinez is injured. Yeah, that's the problem. Who are you going to give the captaincy to? Patrick Lynch says, a proven striker would mean people would look at it why he isn't scoring and not just blame them for making bad runs because they have done it before, says Patrick Lynch. Exactly. I think a proven striker would expose the issues. That's exactly what I think, like you say, Patrick. John says, striker, right wing back, CDM, cam and goalkeeper is our problem. I don't even see all of them being solved in the summer, especially when we're not in Europe, says John. And the other biggest issue, I think, is that I watched Chelsea Villa today. They're both better than United. Breaking news. But they're both better than Man United in such a clear way. I know they're better than us because they're higher in the league, but they're both better than us in moving the ball about. And the incredible thing is that Rashford, Asensio, Malen haven't been at that club that long. But they've settled quickly because there's a core of players who suit Amorim's system, and it's quite easy for players to come in and just settle in. And at United, there was a period of play in the first 10 minutes of the second half where Everton was sitting deep and we had the ball. And every pass we played, I could sense the panic on the United player, because it was almost like they were, when you go and play, I don't know, first training session with a new team, or you've never played with people before, and you might back your ability, but you don't know anything about anybody else. So you don't know the runs people are going to make. You don't know which pass to play and which player's strong here. And I think that I looked at United for 10 minutes in the second half, and it was like everybody's getting the ball and they don't really know where anyone else is going to be. They have to, sometimes, it's sort of, like you watch a Chelsea or a Villa or an Arsenal or whatever, and they're moving the ball quickly because they know where everyone's going to be. I remember Paul Scholes saying this when he used to play, he'd know what most of the players were going to do without looking. And at United, I think they take so many touches because they don't know where anyone's going to be. They literally don't know to play it first time because they don't know where anyone's going to be, which is incredible considering some of these players have played together for years. And is that on the system? Well, it can't be, really. Amorim's only been here for a few weeks, so it's hard to blame the system. But Ten Hag was here for the last 3 years, and they still played the same way. I think it comes down to an IQ thing again. They just don't have that ability to think. Going back to Bruno again, I feel like a lot of it's about Bruno, but remember that shot towards the end where Pickford tipped it over the bar? And I'm sure a lot of people were like, oh, Bruno. You know what I was thinking? There was a cross to the back post where Xerxes and Obi Martin are, and they're both over 6 foot. But you didn't. You kept working to have a shot that was not spectacular, low chance of it going, speculative. And I thought, well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because we get around the edge of the box, and a lot of the time, for a long time, Anthony, Rashford, Bruno, Garnacho, I want to get a shot off. And I think I saw that shot from Bruno, and I thought a lot of people will go, ooh, that was close. And I actually thought, what would it have taken for that to go in? It wasn't close. It was a comfortable save from Pickford, straight at him with a bit of dip. He's got to deal with it, but it's comfortable. For that to go in, it's basically got to go top corner either side at pace. Percentage chance of that going in? Probably less than 1%. Seriously, probably less than 1% at the moment. Chances of us scoring from across to the back post, if it's a good one, better. I don't know what the percentage is, but better. But we don't think to do that. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. We get the ball and we don't think or know what other players are doing. So we think, I'll have a shot. Yeah, I'll have a shot. And I don't see that a lot with other teams. I don't. I think we need a visit. We've done that one. I do believe Bruno is a captain, but I think a lot of these players won't listen to anyone that is given captaincy. They struggle with authority, says Blanc. Prim, welcome to the Members Club. Pre-season for Amorim may not mean anything, says Luke. Thank you very much for that. What's your thoughts on getting Verbruggen from Brighton, says John. I think at the moment, I would just love... a lot of people... I know a lot of people talk about this Suzuki that we nearly got a couple of years ago, but I genuinely wouldn't mind getting a goalkeeper who's like early 20s, who's going to make a few mistakes, but is going to be a good goalkeeper. I sort of think that's the way to go. I wonder if Ruben still picks goalkeeper coach over Rashford, says Class of 99. Aidan Rogers, welcome to Members Club. I really wonder why he's not playing Behinder. He's injured, Elliot. The best goalkeepers command their back line and act as a second captain, keeping the team organised. And Onana seems to have no authority over the back line, says Alex. It would be ridiculously harsh for me to speak out of line, and say, I guarantee you that defence has got no faith in that goalkeeper. But I guarantee you that defence has got no faith in that goalkeeper. I used to play centre-back for 4 different teams across a 3-year period. And we had 4 different goalkeepers for 4 different teams. One of them I had no confidence in at all, and it affected the way I defended. One of them was probably the best goalkeeper in the county, and it affected the way I defended. And lo and behold, I played a lot better with the goalkeeper that was better behind me, because if it was a ball over the top, they knew that me and the other centre-back, they knew how quick we were, and they knew if we were in trouble, and they knew to run out and boot it for a throw-in. And if it was a corner, I knew at what height they were going to come for it or not. And I knew with another goalkeeper, they weren't going to come for it. And I was going to have to try and deal with it. So there's no way that that defence are as confident as they were with David De Gea in goal. Not a chance. And you put Onana in goal for Liverpool and take Alisson away, and that's going to impact Van Dijk straight away, because he's going to be like, okay, this is different. So it will be a problem. It will be a problem. And I'm not making excuses for the defenders in any way, shape or form. Some of their performances in recent weeks haven't been good enough. But God, the confidence you have in your goalkeeper does have a massive impact on how you defend. And it's the unpredictability as well. As a defender, a shot goes in and you be thinking, keeper's going to save that and put it out for a corner or put it out of danger. You'd now be thinking, shit, this could be going anywhere. And that's very difficult. Eduardo says he's at Fiorentina, mate. Time to move on. I don't think it is time to move on, though, mate, is it? Because we're talking about Amorim's biggest issues in the team at the moment, and the keeper's a big issue. So we're using a goalkeeper that gives you stability at the back as an example to what the contrast is now. So it's very relevant. Why did the players only turn up in the last half an hour, says Ahmad Lover? I don't know, and why has it been going on for years? If they play well against Liverpool, Arsenal, definite mentality, it doesn't make sense. They can't play in the first half but can play good when conceding. Why, says Sean K. I don't know. I don't know, mate. But look, in football, football's always been like this. You look at the history of the Premier League. There'll be a team that gets the title. There'll be a team that gets relegated. And there'll be a team that finishes mid-table. Why is that? Because predominantly, the team that wins the title has got the most good players, and the team that gets relegated has got the most bad players. It's very simple. Football's a very simple game. So when I look at Man United in March, basically, in, 5th from bottom, after 26 games, am I wrong in saying we've got a lot of bad players? We're not in a false position, so if the best team with the best players finishes at the top and the worst team with the worst players finishes at the bottom and we're 5th from bottom, what do you think? I think we've got a lot of bad players at this football club, and I think we are where we deserve to be. And I would go back and echo what somebody just said in the chat. A pre-season ain't going to change a lot. A pre-season is not going to polish a turd. I think this team is below where it's capable of being, but is where it deserves to be. So if Amorim gets a pre-season and the players respond better to the style of play, inevitably we will be better as a team and we will climb the table. But I'll pose a question to you. Perfect pre-season, the players adapt to the system, doesn't mean they're going to turn into prime footballers. They're still going to have the limitations of their ability, but the system will be more agreeable with them. Where do you put Man United next season with everybody fit and they're capable of playing the system? Where would you put Man United? Because honestly, I'd say 7th. Even if Amorim's system works, I don't see top 4 or a title, because systematically you can't turn players into Premier League winners just because they get more used to the system. So, yeah, we're underperforming, definitely. but we are where we deserve to be. If these players adapt to the system, there will still be weaknesses individually. So I don't, even if Amorim has a great pre-season, I don't see us higher than 7th without major investment in the team. So his biggest issue will be perfect pre-season, which won't happen, let's be honest, there'll be injuries, etc. Perfect pre-season, the highest he can hope for is 7th next year. So his biggest issue is going to be, how much money has he got in the summer? Yeah, certainly. If they play well, thank you very much for that from Shan. Please bring back the call-in shows. Better takes are getting worse, especially on Garnacho, says Fred. What was the take on Garnacho? Because that reminds me about something. Don't forget, at the end of the show, I need to tell you something. I gave... player ratings were brilliant today, by the way. I know some people were moaning about the sign-up process, but it just stops the amount of fake people and stuff that people can do to ruin the player ratings. And we had I thought the player ratings were brilliant today. Absolutely. Just makes it such a better show when they're so accurate. So well done for that. But I gave Garnacho a 7. I gave Dorgu a 7. And I gave Agate a 7. So I actually gave Garnacho the same score as the man of the match. But I can't do 6.8 or anything like that. So I liked what Amorim did with Garnacho today. I really did. He doesn't need to start every single game. That game was always going to be Dolly Parton FC for the first 60 minutes. Hard work. And I thought with 25 minutes to go against a tired Everton team, it worked brilliantly. And I've always said about Garnacho, like him or loathe him, he makes things happen. Sometimes it's a corner, sometimes it's a goal kick, sometimes it's a throw-in, sometimes he loses the ball, sometimes it's a great cross. But he makes things happen. And he's the only flair player that we've got. And you contrast Garnacho to Bruno and Xerxes, and the speed of movement and thinking is night and day. And yeah, sometimes he doesn't pass, and that can be very frustrating. But I thought today it was a good performance, and it was good coaching, to be honest. Even when the Glazers were neglected United since day one, do you think I've done that one from Spin? Thank you very much for that. Amorim is starting to look like a broken man. It hasn't even been 6 months. I honestly think he's regretting his choice of joining, says John. I hope you're wrong. I know what you're talking about. I saw him in the first half pacing the technical area, and it reminded me of that second sideman game I had to do when they had the best players and I had injuries, and there's half an hour to go, you're losing by 4 goals and you're thinking this could be 20. It's a horrible place for a coach to be when you feel like you can't coach. It's not about you just can't coach these players. And I think that he did well on his halftime talk, because those players were playing way below the level they could play at. But I really hope he doesn't regret it, because we're on our own as fans. He's the only thing we've got. I don't like what I hear about Ineos. I don't like the Glazers. I don't trust the players. So Amorim's all we've got. And if he regrets it and he doesn't want to be here, God knows what we end up with next. He's the only positive for me. He's the only person who hasn't let us down. And I like a lot of the players, but they do let us down. They do. I mean, even my favourite players, they do let us down. It's a fact. And it's a message they need to hear. They do let us down. I don't think there's anybody, well, there are, but there's not many Man United fans out there that are ever going to take a pop at a player for giving it their all and fighting for the badge and, you know, taking risks and carrying on. I mean, Agate symbolises that today. I don't think Agate before the goal was amazing, but he was fighting, you know, fighting a losing battle at times. You're 2-0 down to Everton, they're laughing at you, they're kicking you, they're trying to get at you, and he never stopped going. He was up for the fight, even when others weren't. And no one's ever going to knock a performance like that. I've been saying that about Agate for weeks. He was doing really well, and then people were saying, oh, he's fell off. And I don't think he fell off. I just think when he was playing next to Bruno, and certainly around January time, it was like he was having to do 2 people's job, and it affected his game. But I like Agate. He has the right mentality, and I'll very rarely give him a bad score, because I understand the fact that sometimes he's just overrun and he's the only one putting the fight in. But yeah, a lot of our players let us down, but Amorim doesn't let us down. He says things I don't agree with. I don't agree that we're in survival mode. I don't agree that he's responsible for people getting the sack. But he's all we got. He's all we got. I'm from abroad, going to first game at Old Trafford in the FA Cup draw after 10 years supporting. I hope we can find a way. You're picking a good game, Joseph, because Ipswich on Wednesday night, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. It's almost like, do you think some of the players, when it comes to the league, like I was looking at the league table, right? I'm not going to put it up on screen. It's Saturday night. I want you to think positive thoughts, but you can't. You don't try and imagine it. But we're 15th in the league with 30 points, right? By the way, 30 points. We're 13 points ahead of Ipswich and Leicester. They ain't getting 30 points. So don't talk about relegation. We're safe with 30. They won't get 30 points. 13 points for them. You're having a laugh. But we're not going to finish on 30 anyway, are we? Beat Ipswich on Wednesday. It's over. We're safe. They're already down. I said 3 up, 3 down. They're already down. Wolves are 5 points clear of them as well. So we're 30 points at the moment in 15th place, right? Mid-table, top half of the table is Fulham, 39. We're 9 points off getting into the top half of the table, right? And that's not an achievement. It's not like, let's go for 10th. Like, I wonder if the players in the league mentally... I had this, actually. I'm not on the level of this, but I played for a team under 16, and it was really stupid what we did. We really wanted to win the league, and we weren't that bothered about the cup. We hated this other team. They were a local team, Dane Court, and we were Barnstone Colts. And we knew we were the best 2 teams in the league. And from September until January, we'd look at each other's results every sort of wherever they used to get posted. And they'd drop points, we'd drop points. And then there was this team that were top, and we were like, they're shit, they're not that good. Anyway, it got to like mid-February, and they were 10 points clear. And you're suddenly like, we've been so focused on ourselves, we've messed up the league. Like, there's no way we're going to close a 10-point gap. Like, they were consistent at beating everybody else, and you just knew they weren't going to drop the points. But we were still in the cup, and they were still in the cup, our rival. So suddenly it all became about the cup. What are they doing in the cup? And we ended up playing each other in the final. But league games, psychologically, if I'm being honest, we dropped more points because we'd be thinking about the cup game next week. And I don't know whether it's human nature, but we were just sort of like, it wasn't like we weren't trying in the league, but we weren't probably as motivated. But the cup became everything. And I'm just wondering with the United players, with the league, because you're 9 points off 10th, you know you're not going to finish in the top half. Psychologically, subconsciously, I don't know whether something's going on with the league. So it'll be interesting what we do against Fulham next week. Because do you think against Fulham next week we're going to play like we did against Everton in the first half? It'd be very interesting to see in the Cup and the Europa League whether we play differently to the league. We need to revisit that, actually. Robert McCormack says, did you like Statman Dave's tweet on Rashford? He loves Rashford, so wouldn't surprise me. But Rashford played well today, Robert. I mean, look, stats are bullshit. Bruno getting man of the match today was bullshit. Rashford's stats today, I don't need to see them. He came on the pitch for Villa and he made a difference. I mean, he suits that system perfectly. And look, I don't know why he couldn't do it for Ten Hag. I understand why he can't do it for Amorim because it doesn't suit him. But for Ten Hag, we played exactly like Villa, 4-3-3, and he couldn't do it. And now he's at Villa and he can do it. That's the only question I would have. But he had a good game. How did we do, says Ethan. Don't watch it on Match of the Day. Pratman Dave, says Simon. Amorim is starting to look like a broken man. We've done that one. Thank you very much. There was something else I wanted to say. Oh, somebody said what happened in the final in the Cup game. I should write a book about that season. Under 16s is the best season of my life. Like, I played a lot of football before and a lot of football afterwards, but My school team was fucking brilliant. We won 3 out of 4 cups and got kicked out of the 4th. And we would have won it. And then that was the season with my Sunday team where should have won the league. As I said, we messed it up. Got to the cup final. There's about 300 people watching it as well. We took 3 busloads. It was a massive game. And we went 1-0 down and we won 4-2. 4-2 we won. Yeah, it was good. And in the cup, I think I gave a penalty away in the semi-final and the goalkeeper saved it. And I've never been so relieved. And it was very like Schmeichel and Beckham. I ran over to say thank you and he basically punched me in the face. Not in a bad way, just sort of like, fuck off, come on, we've got to play. It did catch me on the face. And so I gave a penalty away, he saved it. And then in the quarter-final, I scored an own goal. And then I equalised with about 5 minutes to go to take it into extra time, and then we won on penalties. It was a great cup run. That was my 99 as a player, I suppose, but nothing like 99. Humbling helps players like Rashford, says Shahin. Mate, I honestly, talking about Sancho, Rashford, Anthony, if you can't respond to being booted out of Man United with a point to prove, you're finished. I'd be really worried if Rashford hadn't responded or Anthony hadn't responded. I think there are good players there. I definitely think Rashford's a good player. He was one of my favourite players a few years ago. I do think there's a good player there. It's just only he knows why he struggles. Yeah. Before I go, very, very important. If you did the player ratings today, we've brought in a sign-up thing, which helps us with the player ratings because it stops a lot of the trolling and stuff like that to have a sign-up process. But ultimately, if you want to be involved in the player ratings in the future, scan the QR code, sign up through player ratings. I'll drop it in the video description as well. But also, as part of that, it's going to be a mailing list. So we're going to do a weekly sort of members, what do they call it? A mailing, you know what do they call it? Newsletter, that was it, newsletter. So we're going to have a weekly newsletter that goes out to everybody. So scan the QR code, sign up. The first thing we're going to do though, and we've wanted to do this for a long time, is that having this community newsletter thing means that we can actually start to survey and come up with ideas and strategies around genuine change at Manchester United. So like a members club. We're going to do a survey. And we want it to be one of the biggest Man United fan surveys that have ever been done. The club did it for season ticket holders, nobody else. Must have done it before. But we are a massive community and it's about time we started behaving like one. And a lot of people have sort of recommended stuff like this before. I think it's a great idea because Twitter, social media, YouTube's great, but we need to sort of start creating our own sort of voice. And I think if we're looking at doing like a 20 question survey for United Stand, so that when we've got the results, we can go, look, we know everybody who's done this is a Man United fan and is part of this community, and this is what they think about whether we should rebuild or build a new stadium, for example. And on the ownership of Manchester United, do you want Glazers and Ineos to turn this football club around, or would you rather they sold us and we tried something else? You know, stuff like this, but at a detail level. So if you want to be part of that, we're going to get that survey hopefully up and running by the middle of the week. So scan the QR code, register yourselves, and that will get emailed to you. So, and also that's how you do the player ratings now as well. But I'd like to get as many people as possible on the survey because I think when we get the results back, it's going to be really interesting. Also, as well, when we're talking about ways to, you know, beyond protests, I think these sort of things are things that we can poll people about as well and, you know, mail shot people on a newsletter about this has happened. It's easier than a YouTube video because if we say, look, Ruben Amorim was wearing that hoodie today because it's brand new out and it's 100 quid, and if you're buying that because you thought Amorim looked nice in it, that's up to you and you can do that. But be very aware that Ruben Amorim is wearing that because the club want him to wear that so that they can sell a load of those and boost the money for the club. There we go. Scanned the codes and it says it's deactivated. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Idiot. It's not members. That's not what it is. That's the one. Apologies. That's the one. It wasn't members. That's not the right one. It's player ratings. That's the one. What I'll also do before I go as well is we have got a 10 o'clock show tomorrow because it's Sunday, and we've got a Sunday night show as well because, of course, it's a Sunday night. But remember, we've got a game midweek coming up, so get involved with that, of course. Here we go. I'll whack it in the live chat for you. It's easier than scanning the QR code anyway. I'll just whack it in the live chat. Thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. Absolute legends. I'm going to go and have a lovely hot bath, and I'm going to start putting together some ideas for this. Sign up for newsletter and survey here. There we go. I've put it in the live chat. Sign up for newsletter and survey here. That's going to go out next week. Let me pin that. And I'll put it in the video description as well. That's there. And I'll pin it as the top comment. Legends tonight. Thank you very much. Get in if you didn't watch live, of course. And I am doing Liverpool versus City tomorrow, yes. There is a reason Juventus and Bayern sold De Ligt, bought on what he did 5 years ago when he has been in decline for 5 years. Mate, I almost don't want to say anything about that journalist because I just don't get it. I don't know how any one person can have such an agenda against one player who's only been here for 6 months and has actually done quite well. It just seems ridiculous. And yet, he'll be in a press conference on Monday and United's communication teams will be going, Samuel, what's your question? And it's like, it's disgusting. I know I wouldn't get away with that. I wouldn't be able to go, Bruno, today, 2. You just can't do that. I don't know what De Ligt has done wrong, but he has been... I'm not saying De Ligt played well today, by the way. I'm just saying it's on a different level. It's on a different level. And I don't get it. I really don't get it. Anyway, take care, everyone. Scan that QR code, Andy. That'll be the one. And we'll get moving on that as well. Take care. Stay safe. And have a great evening, day, or whatever you're doing. See you tomorrow.